Boosie and the Breakfast Club. Jay Moore, I know you saw it. Terry, kind of don't do that. Terry, I kind of filled you alone in on the happenings, if you will. And Jay Moore, I'm gonna come to you first because people, what I'm seeing on just social media, Boosie standing his ground and having the right to, based on
write me down
how he wants to, parent his children and all that, and I respect that. I don't have kids, so I'm not gonna tell you how to raise your children. But I just felt like, in my personal opinion, I felt like they kind of cornered him, and I thought Charlemagne was being very corny. That was my take. I thought he was being very trollish and corny.
When is Charlemagne not being trollish and corny?
Terry, he was super weird in this one, though. I'm saying, like, he's trying to
and I mess with Charlemagne, but yeah,
he was trying to put words in Boosie's mouth that he didn't say. I didn't appreciate that.
Are you sure?
He's a radio personality.
Yeah, but that's still whack, though. I mean, he's a radio personality, but that's still corny to me.
And he came up under the umbrella of what's her girl's name?
Wendy Williams.
Wendy Williams. She's super trash.
She a whole fool. Yeah, you're right about that. But Jay Moore, what did you think about that, man? Like the way the interview, like Boosie has 2 movies that's about before the end of this year. Boosie Bash is about to come up, and I barely heard about that. Everything was about him, comments that he said. So what'd you think when you saw the interview? I watched the whole thing.
The thing is, when there was a point where I'm like, did you really want to interview Boosie and find out what he wanted to say, or did you just want to bring him up here to change his mind?
Thank you.
So, and this is not about disagreeing or agreeing with anything that Boosie said, but when I listened to the underlying things about when he was trying to express his point, it's like, hey, you know what? This is what is going to go on in my house. Just because it goes on in my house, and this is how I'm going to talk to my children about what it is that they see. It doesn't have to go on in your house. And they kept making it seem like, oh, you're being somehow homophobic. And he said, that's not who I am. Like the gay people that I actually have interactions with, we have a good relationship. Y'all keep trying to talk to me about these people I don't even know. So it got to a point where, and I know a lot, because everyone needs someone to jump on and say, we don't like him. We don't. And right now it's the baby. And after the, like I said, everyone moves on from week to week. And now it's Boosie. But when
Boosie's fan base will not be affected by
not at all. But like when I looked at it, I was like, in a way, it got to a point where I actually felt a level of empathy for Boosie, because he was trying to explain himself. And does he do it the best? Is Boosie the most articulate individual? No. But like when you really listen to what he said, he's like, look, this is just how I'm gonna raise my kids. I'm not telling you what to do with your kids. I'm not, trying to wish anything actually bad on Lil Nas X. I just don't want my kids to see that. And you know what? I don't have children, but you know what? I'll just be honest. If I did have kids and say they were of a certain age, we're not watching the BET Awards at all. Okay, we're not, because I don't want to. We're not. I'll go and I'll say, okay, I'll DVR it or get it online, and I know enough about video editing. We'll chop it down and we'll watch it as a family of things. Because I don't want them seeing this. I don't want them seeing the City Girls either. Yeah, you know what I'm saying. I don't want them seeing. I don't know if even Meg was there. Like I didn't watch it.
Ain't no busting open going on in his house.
So I was like, so I understand why Boosie says this is not what I want my kids to see.
And his emphasis was on his children. That's why I respect that.
And not even that, not, but I don't think there's a, and they kept talking about an agenda. I don't know if there's a full on agenda, but I do know, and this is where we're going to get into a little trouble. So let's get into it.
We got 4 minutes.
All right. I'm going to be quick.
Quick trouble.
We'll talk about it in the post show.
Yeah.
This is why you should tune in live.
Yeah, yes. I do see some things like when specifically with Black creators, where I do see almost in every story, they put a certain, they decide we got to put a gay character here.
Him downstairs.
And and I think part of it is because there's always been this stigma that there is a level, especially coming from the Black church, of of homophobia that comes from the black community. So it's almost like our black creatives go so far out of their way to make sure, hey, we got a black character that is also a part of the queer community. And then
it's all about the inclusion.
Yeah, and I have no problem with inclusion, but sometimes I'm like, that doesn't even make sense from a storytelling standpoint for you to include this particular character. Are you just doing it because you feel like, okay, this is what's going to be fly, and I want to be? Do you really want to be inclusive, or are you pandering to this particular community?
Sure. I want Terry to get in here real quick because I know we're running short. You made a comment earlier before we came on as to both sides. You were talking about, you know, how you approached what Boosie was talking about, but the flip side to it. Do you remember?
Yeah, the thing about that is when you're doing that, because I mean, I agree with him as far as raising your kids a certain way and not wanting them to see stuff. You know, my mom didn't like me watching Married with Children or The Simpsons.
Oh,
and these are regular TV shows.
Yeah.
So fast forward to nowadays, I mean, everything is wide open. You got YouTube. Everybody's watching YouTube. The only thing about that is when you're doing that, you have to weigh in on both sides of the coin. So if you don't want to see, if you want to teach them, you don't want to see two dudes, you don't want to see two girls either, because they usually make two girls more appealing and give that a pass. And I mean, as a man, I mean, that's mannish. You know what I'm saying, for lack of better terms. But if you're raising children, you have to be able to explain to them that both ways, if that's how you're going to raise them, you don't agree with. And that's not saying that you're telling them to demonize anybody that's raised up that way or ends up like that. But if you're setting a standard, it has to be set on both sides of the coin.
Look, a lot of you grew up watching the Cosby Show and A Different World, and you're not in your kids' lives, and you didn't go to college. So these television shows only have so much influence on how you actually going to live your life. So I'll just leave it at that.
Lone, I know we're short for time, but I'm sure we'll go ahead and get into the post show.
Yeah, I'll talk about it in the post show.
Lone, talk to me, man, because I saw your eyes get really big a couple times, and I think I know where you're going.
Well, yeah. I mean, like, if Boosie has all these harsh stipulations around conservative ways of thinking, and then he goes on his live and he's doing everything that he's like, it's absolutely hypocritical. 100%.
You think so?
It's 100% hypocritical. He's just picking and choosing which parts he wants to, you know, like.
Does he have that right?
So you pussy alive, I give you $1,000.
Does he have that right to do that as a father, though?
So as a father,
I don't have kids. So
no. So as a father, it's okay. Okay, because he's a father, it's okay for him to be like.
They always say, "Do as I say, not as I do."
You can't air quote because he's a father, because he is one.
He's a pappy, but he did talk about paying to get his son some head.
He did, but I can't.
But then he said he didn't really do it.
How to raise his kids?
Then he said he didn't really do it.
Maybe you should.
No, I mean, he ain't gonna listen to me.
No, he's not going to. But my point is. All right. The reason why this is a conversational talking point right now is because he is homophobic. That's really all I have to say, right? But his whole argument is I'm not homophobic, right?
It's kind of like the people that say they ain't racist, but they really be racist.
Like, phobic means you're scared of something.
You don't understand what phobic means, maybe.
Maybe I don't understand what it means. Because
exactly.
He made a statement too, like to Lone's point. He had made a statement. You out here showing all this imagery to these boys that like girls and trying to. He's something. Y'all remember that quote?
Let me ask you this.
Look,
go ahead, Lone. Sorry.
Let me go a little bit further. All right, so this is where a lot of people who don't pay attention to a lot of these social movements miss out, because the phrase homophobic does not mean that you see a gay person and you're like, oh my God, I'm afraid. No, like that's
phobia.
Hold on. What I'm saying is that that's not what that means. Regardless of what, if you break down and deconstruct the word, right? This is the same thing with Black Lives Matter. This is the same thing with defund the police. Like, people don't actually pay attention to actually look what the shit is about. And instead they say, oh, well, defund the police means you don't give the police any money. So that means that we're not going to have any police. And then people get up in arms. Homophobia is not about being physically afraid of gay people. It's about more than just, it's about the spaces that they're in. It's about the subtleties involved in everything as well. It's like, what are the subtle things that you're doing that is
marginalizing these people?
Marginalizing and pushing sexuality in the forefront in a way that is, still downplaying homosexuality. Like, as a father, yes, you can do whatever the fuck you want.
Yeah.
Right. But at the same time, if you're going to say, like, I'm not homophobic because I have gay friends and we respond this way.
I'm not racist because I have a black friend.
Yeah, that's a big one.
It's the same type of mentality. I think what comes across with the phobic, I know I'm all over the damn place with this.
No,
but
you're right.
people hear the word and they think to themselves, just what Terry just said. Well, I don't hate gay people, you know, but it's about all of the subtle things around it that contribute to making gay people still feel, like Jay Moore said, marginalized.
Marginalized and uncomfortable.
Let me ask you guys this.
Because if I hear Boosie say, okay, if he does this, I'm going to snatch him off stage. Now, mind you, once again, and this is me coming from a different place where people would get snatched off stage for, like we just talked about.
With the errors.
We just talked about
Kanye and Drake.
No, when we talked about KRS-One snatching Prince B off stage or whatever. See, the thing is, in my head, I don't hear homophobia. I just hear, okay, well, this is some wild shit. This is hip hop. But at the same time, I have to think about it in a different context, because there's somebody who's going to say that's if he'll do that and if he'll express that, then what about me just trying to just live my everyday life? And I'm not trying to put, my particular lifestyle in his face, but if I just small things. I was watching they put Dave Chappelle's show on one of the platforms. Netflix. I was rewatching it, and there was one part where I'm like, "Oh, this just wouldn't fly today." Because when somebody said something about gay sex, and Dave Chappelle goes, "Gay sex, ew," you know what I'm saying? That is,
he'd be dragged. He'd be dragged.
Yeah, he probably would.
He'd get dragged.
Now, but at the same time, Dave Chappelle, after the last special, he's undraggable. Right?
Yeah, it's
if he's
in a world of his own right now.
Yeah, so he's in a whole nother space.
I have a question. Let me ask y'all this, and I'm just throwing it out there for the topic of discussion.
Sure.
If the following phrase is said, is this homophobic? I don't agree with the lifestyle that you choose, but I respect your choice. Is that homophobic?
That's not homophobic.
But what is the context behind them saying that?
No,
but that's what I'm saying. It depends on what the context behind that is.
Especially if they say, I didn't choose this. This is who I am.
Because to his point about the things that Boosie was saying and how he was saying certain things, I get what you're saying as it relates to context.
The thing about it with Boosie is it's because Boosie is saying it, and we know how Boosie operates.
I do believe
that. So that's the reason why it comes off as he's being homophobic.
How dare
because we already know him.
It's Boosie.
Yeah.
And Boosie has shindigs at his house with a whole lot of thought broth going on in the swimming pool.
With a whole lot of what?
Thought broth in the swimming pool.
And
whatever he decides to do, and he decides to say how he's going to raise his kids. The thing about him raising his kids is he's in the public eye.
Yeah.
And so his kids are essentially too. I mean, remember when he was getting out of jail, his daughter was in a video going viral.
Yeah.
And his son is in, this is what people didn't pick up because, his son is in his movie.
Yeah, his son is
playing him.
He hangs out with T.I.'s son. And
his son got videos with every type of strap you ever seen in it.
Teriyo. Fat Teriyo ain't fat no more.
I owe Teriyo an apology real quick, Teriyo.
I like the fact that you called him Teriyo and not Fat Teriyo.
Yeah, look here. Teriyo, if you watching this or somebody clip this, I apologize, sir.
No, you don't. You hated him when he was fat.
Yeah.
No, I hated that they paid him.
Teriyo gonna come see you and talk to you as a man in your face.
Teriyo can talk to me as a man in his face because that young man has slimmed and trimmed down, and he's a nice young man, and he is.
How you know he's a nice young man?
Based off what I see.
Because he's slim. Because
because fat people
that's fat shaming.
Fat phobia.
Fat shaming.
Exactly.
You can't say that no more.
That's what it is. And that's why you hate Lizzo.
They'll turn it into everything.
You see how Lizzo all happy now because her song is #1 in the country?
I mean, she good now.
With her punk ass.
Even though it's trash.
But shout out to Teriyo.
Song trash.
But shout out to Teriyo for real, though, for losing that weight, man. Fam, I got to give it to him.
Yeah, it was either that or type 2 diabetes.
Nah, for real.
Yeah, fam out here healthy than a mug. So
breathing good. He ain't going to need that CPAP machine.
No, he ain't going to need that. He ain't gonna need that. Don't do that, Jake. Don't do that, Jake Moore.
No. This is when because unfortunately, I remember he was on Arsenio Hall show when they tried to do the revamp.
That's when Mike would be being fat.
And then I was like,
being fat.
Don't put that on.
And I was like, yeah, they're not going to renew Arsenio's show if they got to have Terrio on here.
I'm just saying, man. Back in his prime, in his first prime, they used to pay him to be fat at high schools. I'm just saying, but now, young man has grown up and No,
he's a good young man now.
Yeah, since he only eats
Upstanding
one
young
quarter
man.
pounder with cheese.
Yeah, I don't know how many of them he doing now, but the brother has been putting his work in. So
I mean, honestly, I don't fault
Shout out to
anybody for
healthy
wanting to
people.
raise their
Period.
kids in the
Look,
in a manner to where they're telling them that type of lifestyle they don't necessarily agree with, because I mean a lot of people that were Christians were brought up to believe that too.
but it was just like I remember
Jay Moore made a good point though.
Do you think that's the same thing though, as far as like homosexuality and like? I mean,
Well, the only difference is,
Look, I had to hide
being
certain
raised
things,
as
like,
a
that I
Christian, is
enjoyed,
people
like-
have to tell you, or they tell you to not hate your neighbor or not judge. Just you don't involve yourself in that type of situation. They're telling you basically that you can't hate this person because they're gay if they decide to be gay. I mean, they have stories in the Bible about whole cities being burned down because they were.
I don't
in the
know.
gay
I
activities.
guess I always relate it to, not to cut you off,
go ahead.
but I relate it to these types of conversations to something that happened in my life. I had my grandmother once say to me, and bless her, you know, like, date whoever you want, just as long as you don't bring a black woman home.
That's tough.
To me, that's very similar. It's raising your kiln to
It's racist
follow.
in a mug.
I know,
But at
And-
the same
It is.
but at the same time, it's, you know,
this is the thing, and like I don't know your grandmother. I don't know the context in which she
She
said
grew
it,
up in a different era
but
too.
there was
boy.
a time
I know
when
she
like
did.
she was trying in her own way to protect you.
yes.
And I'm once again, I'm not in here, you know, capping for Boosie, but in his own way. Like, I don't know if you guys have watched the Miss Pat show.
I haven't watched it yet.
Like, you know, shout out to Miss Pat. And there's an episode where, you know, her daughter comes home and like they're having a good time. And then she says something really inappropriate about gay people. And it's like, well, I guess you're talking about me. Basically, I'm paraphrasing. And the thing is, it's like she, you know, she didn't realize, you know, what she was saying was so wrong and how hurtful it was.
Yeah.
And it's not that she was like, look, you already black and a woman in America. I don't want it to be any harder for you.
Mhm.
So
good
in a
point.
way, I'm not saying there wasn't a tinge of racism to what your grandmother said.
It was
And
absolutely.
I'm not excusing that at all. But
She was looking out for me.
yeah, she came
In
in
her
of a time
mind.
in her
That's
mind.
it. In her mind,
She's
was looking out for
trying
him.
to in her way she's trying to protect you.
Yeah.
Yes, but my argument is, and I love my grandmother, she's still wrong as fuck.
Yeah.
Period. No matter
It's just
how,
like in that
no matter
situation,
how, no matter
That's
how
pretty
you
much-
Pat was wrong too.
That's pretty much every race, creed, and color that isn't black. They tell their kids that they can date anybody but black
For
people.
Yeah.
black people.
Just like Indian people.
Oh yeah, I heard that from an Indian
Yeah,
friend of mine.
Indian people literally are set up still on arranged marriages with other Indian people unless they marry a white person.
That's facts.
Well, that and
That's
like
facts.
they, you know, and this is the thing because you know, colorism is a thing everywhere in this world,
Mhm.
and the worst thing you could do if you are someone who is Indian. When I say Indian, like the country India,
Yeah.
you know, because you got to say things like
red
that.
dot, not feather. Shouts to Jay-Z.
I see what
Okay.
you did there.
All right.
It's a bar.
And you know, because the worst thing you could do is marry somebody black, and then you're gonna darken the family up again for generations.
Man. And that there's you just said a bar right there.
I
There's
mean,
people-
I've heard that.
Yeah,
so
that's real.
You know.
That's what you just said is real.
Because
man.
you know, and then you know, in any other culture, it's like, hey, once because the thing is, whatever it is, you're never that anymore. Like if you have kids with somebody black and you're Japanese, you're never like some Japanese people came out and it got real funky because they said something off brand about Naomi Osaka,
yeah,
even though she's over there representing and winning, like, you know, to their certain segment of people who are like, yeah, she got the last name and she ain't
she
that.
a muggle. She's a half blood.
Yeah, so
hey, she be rocking for Haiti too, man. Like,
but you know, because the thing is, like, it's crazy. There's a
what you
black
say,
woman.
Muggle?
There was a woman who won Miss Japan,
Yeah.
whose father was black.
How did that go?
There's a picture of her with the crown on, and she's surrounded by the other Japanese girls.
What they
who
looking
are,
like?
Oh, they were salty as all
See?
get out.
See?
And the thing is, all she knows is Japanese. She speaks fluent Japanese. She don't really know anything about the black side of her family. But you know,
I mean,
once it to them, she's not really Japanese.
You know what's crazy? I wonder how, with that part, with what you said about the young lady that won the contest, I wonder what her father's side of the family thinks about her.
Well, see, this is the nasty part of it because
You know what I'm
like he was
saying?
like a serviceman and she doesn't know him.
Oh,
American serviceman, and like, you know, there's no
Okay.
connection there.
okay.
Like I
okay.
said, she's
out
been
there.
raised as Japanese. She doesn't know anything.
She don't know anything but.
She don't know anything about being
That's interesting.
black.
Yeah. That's interesting.
or being, you know, but this is, I think about it in the terms of white American racism, to where it doesn't matter what you're mixed with. If one drop of it is black, you're black. And that's, you know, but that's not really, as a concept and a construct, that's uniquely American.
Yep.
What is that music?
I don't know, but I kind of got a nice calming vibe there. I feel
We're
like
here talking that deep.
I'm talking that deep music right
I
now.
feel like I need
and,
like some rain noise in the background, like.
So if you're out there, and
If you've enjoyed this segment of the New Old Heads podcast, make sure you join our live show every Tuesday from 9 to 11 p.m. Eastern on twitch.tv/newoldheads. You can also catch playback of all of our shows on any podcast app and youtube.com/newoldheads network. And go to newoldheads.com/community to join our Discord.